Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play the Final Fantasy Legend. In the last part, we completed a little trek through the ocean world and now we're back in the tower for some more shenanigans. Yay. And if we go up here, we actually have a new chest that contains an item, if I can stop running around in battles, a musket, which is more or less an upgrade to the Colt. If you still have the Colt, you can more or less get rid of it at this point. I try to get as many uses out of a weapon as I can, but if I have no more use for one, I will get rid of it more often than not. And if I'm out of it, well, that's just perfect, because then I don't have to do really anything. Yeah, around here, not many of the enemies are new, because we've already encountered them in either the ocean world or the land before it. However, this serpent is new. Serpents have 126 HP, they're lizard-type enemies, so they're weak to ice. They have a bite attack, and they can poison you with a poison attack. Nothing too strong beyond that, though. 240 gold, so that's decent, I suppose. Admittedly, Final Fantasy Legend has a decent amount of enemies, but a lot of them are like of the same, like maybe 12 varieties, if even 12. But you know, I can understand that, but it's a bit less even compared to some of its sequels. Especially Final Fantasy Legend 3, which just has a lot of stuff in it. Mind you, out of all of them, I think Legend 3 is probably the best, but I'll get to that when I eventually get to that game, because I will do it, because I do like Legend 3 quite a bit. Legend 2, that's going to be a bit of a pain to record because Legend 2 is a bit of a drag in my eyes. And in this little room, we actually got a nice little break area. Most of the people in here don't talk, but this guy here on the right is an inn, and there's a guy to the west, I believe I show off, that's a House of Life. Nice little rest area. Sadly, no guild, so you can't recruit any new members, but this guy's here. There's one Archfiend who controls the other 4 fiends. Huh, so above all the people we've been slaying so far, there is actually someone in charge. Who knew? Probably everyone, because that kind of makes sense. Trying to think when was the last time there was just 4 fiends that were the main enemy. Either way, next new enemies are ravens and clams. Ravens have 150 HP, they're protected from quake, and they have the nail and beak abilities, so pretty simple. And clams have 231 HP, they're water elementals, so they're weak to electricity. They have an 8 legs attack, which doesn't do that much, a shell attack, and an ink attack, which can blind you. Pretty standard enemies. If you have any electric attacks, you should take them down pretty easily. Though, I don't think I've ever seen a clam that looks like that. If I did, I'd probably run for the hills. Mind you, overall, some of the sprites in this game for the enemies are kind of odd, to put it lightly. Particularly the clam line of enemies, which I think is also the octopus line of enemies. And the plant varieties, like the thing we encountered, I think, the last part. I believe the cactus, I think it was? I forget. We do want to come over here in this room so we can grab this treasure chest, which is a P-knife. The P-knife is kind of a rare weapon in the fact that it's one of the few that has its damage determined by a mana stat instead of agility or strength. And because of this, it's really good to have on a mutant. If you don't have enough room, I recommend using up all spellbooks, charges, and then equipping it like I think I do. But get that on as soon as you can, no matter what, though. Oh, hey, old guy again. The ruler of this world is calling for guards. Being a guard is the quickest way to meet him. Well, then. That sounds interesting. The first staircase there leads to the door that's blocked by the next sphere, so it's time for us to enter world number 3. The sky. I don't get how this is working. We shouldn't be able to walk on clouds, but oh well. Either way, there is some stuff we want to do here in the town before we, progress on with plots. I hear there's a town hidden in the clouds. Yes, there is. Byakko rules the sky from a gigantic flying castle. Well, that sounds generically fantasy. Byakko has crushed most of the resistance. Oh, so he's an opposed ruler. Now, before I go talk to the other people, I do want to buy some stuff in this shop. Namely, dragon armors. One for Lucy and one for Callista. Why? It's a really good piece of armor. Not only does it actually increase your defense, but it gives you resistances against a good amount of elements. Because of that, you're going to be holding on to this for a while. I usually have the dragon armor on the human until, like, the second to last area of the game. So yeah, pretty good. Alright, let's see what else we got going around in town here. Oh, hey, slime people. Byakko's looking for guards. If you're interested, go to the pub. Okay, so the Byakko's the guy who's looking for leaders. Charles was the leader of the resistance, and he left the secret of the sphere with his daughters. Members of the Resistance are still hiding out, so the Resistance has been crushed by Byakko, who's the evil ruler, and the sphere was left by the Resistance's leader to his daughters. Okay. Yeah, surprisingly, the in-world plots are pretty generic and plain. This place is for Byakko, the White Targar, and his men. Get out while you can. Don't talk rubbish. Leave us alone. You're a dead man. And by that, they mean they're throwing mosquitoes at us. Mosquitoes have 150 HP, and they actually have a good amount of stuff. They're weak to ice, but they're protected from quake. They have a nail attack, a bite attack, a drink attack, which I think drains HP from you and gives it to them. And they have the stealth attack, so they can get a sneak attack on you. Nothing too hard, though, because 150 HP for this point, even with 3 enemies, is kind of low. Although it's around here that I like to note that a lot of these fixed encounters that you have to fight, like the mosquitoes here, I believe this is a fight that's always has 3 of them. And if I recall, that's actually because there's 3 guards in the area. Nice details there. And we get mosquito meat from this guy, which I actually want to give to... which one was it? Kane, to turn him into a jelly, which is the next slime-type monster. How'd you like working for Byakko? Sure. I hear you're pretty good. First, you'll bring John to me, and I'll reward you if you do well. Who is this girl? Don't ask questions. Just do as you're told. Sure, no problem. Take a guess at who the villain of this world is. Either way, before we continue on, let's check out that jelly we got. Melt and Bother as usual, protected from elements and weapons, and Quake, but still weak to fire. Decent mana, though. Anyway, what we got right here is a glider. This is more or less the closest thing this game has to an airship. It allows us to more or less fly all over the place. And we encounter our next new enemy, Garlix. Sadly not Garlic Jr., but also because Dead Zone was not that good in comparison to other Dragon Ball movies. Garlics have 231 HP, no real weaknesses. They have no tentacle, nose, stench, honey, nothing too annoying, honestly. They're pathetic. They're the weakest enemies you'll have around here. Oh, there was an igloo back there. Either way, before we continue on, we want to head over to this general direction. That's the edge of the world, by the way. All the maps have one of those. And find this 4-panel cloud and check out the bottom left corner for a hidden town. This is the only place in the game, if I recall, you can buy P-knives. The white sphere is enshrined in a sacred place in the clouds. Keep that in mind for later. What you got to say? Come here, come here. Charles had twin daughters. Huh. And we'll know where the sphere is when the twin sisters are together. This is why Byakko is after her. Okay, so the girl we're looking for, Jean, is one of Charles' twin daughters, and he needs them to get the sphere. Got it. And you can also buy some interesting stuff around here. Bazooka, which I recommend. It's pretty much an upgraded grenade, if I recall. I actually recommend getting 1 or 2 of those. Giant gauntlets, which I recommend 1 of them for right now for Callista, because we'll be finding a pair of them later on for Lucy. And there's one thing in this town I recommend you do buy. Well, actually, no, you can buy them here, but I think we're going to find one soon, so don't buy it yet. A lightsaber. No, no joke. Lightsaber. Nothing you really want to buy here aside from that, though, because the hidden town here doesn't have a lot of good stuff in it. Well, no, it does have a lot of good stuff, just the fact that I like to have other stuff instead. Either way, they're never really clear on where you have to go next in this area, but I do want to fight some sirens. Sirens have 150 HP. They're lizard-type enemies, but they don't have any weaknesses to ice. They have a tail attack, which is their only real physical attack. An armor attack, which actually increases their defenses up to, I think, 99. And a sing attack, which I think confuses enemies, I think. It's nothing too bad, but I do want to get their meat for Envy for a Chimera. Chimeras are awesome. Most of their attacks aren't that good. Nail and Tusk are average, Flame is pretty average, but the protection from Quick isn't average. But 3 heads is kind of broken because of a bug in its programming. It's supposed to have hit multiplier of 3. Instead it has a hit multiplier of 12. So, it's powerful to say the least. You can do around 500 damage with it. So, we're going to be keeping the Chimera around for a bit. Anyway, we want to enter this igloo because, well, take a guess at where Jean is. We found her, Jean. We got you now. You new recruits. Back off. She's ours. Well, shall we listen to him? Or help her? You ask a silly question. Indeed we do, but we do get some new enemies here. Sabercats, and P-worms. Sabercats have 202 HP, 2 tusks, and a nail attack, so nothing that good there. And P-worms have 231 HP, they're weak to ice, and they have a bite, a web attack, and a P-skin ability. Poison skin ability, rather. Honestly, the saber cats are what you should go after first, because I think they're the most aggressive out of all the others, but honestly, as long as you have 3 heads, you should take them down no matter what. 3 heads is just really broken. And I'm not sure if it's supposed to be like that, because I know an enemy or boss later on has 3 heads, but I'm not sure if they're supposed to be doing that much damage. It feels like it's not supposed to do that. Mind you, for a Chimera to have it, it kind of makes sense. My sister Miliel is captured in the flying castle. Please help her. Okay then, so now we're helping the resistance, which, you know, makes sense, because Byakko is kind of evil. Either way, we do need to head back to the flying castle, which I believe we do right now, I think. Getting on the glider is actually a bit tricky. Yeah, here it is. But first I do want to head back into town and use the inn. Oh yeah, that's a weird thing. You can't enter the castle with the glider. And now I'm actually going to be speeding this up. Why? Byakko is on the 7th floor. You have to walk up all the floors, and it's a very linear path that honestly is kind of pointless. So I'm speeding most of it up. I know why this place is so, like, long and linear. Later on, you're gonna come here again, and you're supposed to head to the end and do something, but it's really tedious, honestly, and I'm not gonna be doing that. I'll just explain that when we get to that next part. Not even any items to get along the way either, which is kind of surprising. This is mostly here for the fights, I think. Even though there's no fights here now, because they still think we're on their side. Now we're heading back to normal speed around here, because as you're going to notice, there is a door coming up that we need to enter in order to get an item. By the way, I love this song. Again, the game's soundtrack is overall fantastic. And in here we get a white key, which we need to enter a few doors around the place. But yeah, I'm not digging this flying castle area. It's really tedious. Pretty boring looking, too. Also, does this need to be this long? I don't think it does. And now with the white key, we can enter here. And there's Miliel. Who are you? You keep out of it. And we need to fight 3 more saber cats. The only reason I'm showing this is because it's a required battle, and that's going to be my mentality for a lot of RPGs coming up from now on. I'll show it if it's a new encounter, yes, but if it's a required encounter, even if it's a repeat, showing it. Which is gonna make Pokemon, whenever I get back to that series, really tedious. Gotta admit though, I like the Saber Cat sprite. And wow, that was pathetic. Alright, Miliel, how you doing? Miliel, are you alright? Who are you? A friend of Jean. I'll tell you more later. My sister? Where is she? In the forest. Let's go. Thank you. Byakko! Miliel, keep back! Fool! I knew all this time that you defeated Genbu and Seiryu. I just used you. Miliel, you did well. Now Jean is mine. Miliel, how could you betray your sister? Power is everything. Who cares about the resistance? I'm not going to kill you just yet. Put them in jail. Well, really? And you kept... And by the way, we still have all our stuff, so he's a terrible leader. By the way, even with his strength, he can't open the bars. And if I could just make it to the glider on the 1st floor, that's what we need to do. Just investigate the bars, by the way. Ha! No way you can bend those. Ha! Wow! Who are you? Yeah, I don't get the point of that. And you can't talk to the people in there. However, as you notice, there's a sword right there. Take me. Ah, the sword speaks. This is the revenge sword. However, I'll go over that in a moment because I'm never going to use it. First off, we got a new encounter coming up against an imp. 202 HP, it's protected from Quake. However, for an undead type enemy, it's actually not weak to fire. It uses fire against you. And besides that, it just has a standard nail attack. Pretty simple enemy. Either way, the revenge sword is pretty interesting. It has 50 uses. And what it does is that when you're attacked by the enemy, you counterattack by dealing twice the damage they dealt to you back at them. However, it's not that good in my eyes. Also, it's in hidden passage over here. Keep in mind that door, by the way, for later. I'll be cutting back to here. Because that door is locked by a key that we do not have yet. And now, if you want to leave the castle, you can head through that door right there. However, I want to fight these 5 ints to get to that chest. And yes, I'm showing this fight because if I want to get that chest, it's technically required. But yeah, look at that. 453 damage. 3 heads is ridiculous. Sadly, I don't think too many monsters can learn it. I think like a total of 3 can, if even. Either way, for doing that, we get the jail key. But I'm overloaded with items. I hate small inventories. Either way, we get a jail key. That's for the door downstairs, which means I'm gonna be jump cutting back to that door in about 2, 1, and we're back. Either way, there's actually a lot of treasure in this room, a total of 6. First off, a lightsaber, which is a really good weapon. I recommend giving that to a human. It's not the best weapon, admittedly, because it's an agility-based weapon, and as you can see, she only has a 30 agility. But I'll be maxing out her agility fairly soon anyway, so might as well. A second pair of a giant gauntlets, which is why I didn't get 2 pairs earlier. So I'm giving that to Lucy. Next up, we got, I think the next chest is a death book, which is honestly not going to be useful. Just sell that. And don't even use it at all, because the thing is with spellbook type items is that they sell for a lot at max spell charges, but the moment you use them once, their price degrades by like over half, and it's stupid, but I can understand why that is. There's not even many cure books I recommend using, spell books I recommend using in the game. There's Cure, Ice and Electricity early on, and Elixir, which is really good, and 2 that we're going to see later on, I believe. Either way, Elixirs are pretty special, because they still replenish all of your HP like they did in other games. However, instead of restoring all your MP, they restore all your charges, if they're spells or abilities, so that's pretty good. And they also heal certain status ailments, and a revive is more or less a free revival, pretty simple. And now we can escape using that key. And remember, there's 3 gliders here. Only one of them will start up, though. It's the one on the right. But with that, I'm going to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching. And in part 6 of Final Fantasy Legend, now that we've escaped the castle, which is mysteriously moved, we're going to be ending off this world and hopefully stopping Byakko from his reign of terror. See you guys then.